From all the horrors emerging out of Israel and Palestine, we've learned a sobering lesson that strikes a lot closer to home. Hamas's assault on Israel was characterized by a series of brutal attacks against innocent civilians. Young people and children just trying to live their lives who had nothing whatsoever to do with whatever Israel's done to Palestine. Toddlers in Israeli border towns kidnapped by militants. At least 260 partygoers dancing at a desert festival. Ambushed and slaughtered by Hamas terrorists who parachuted in. Others kidnapped, raped, left for dead. A young woman, 30-year-old German tattoo artist Shani Luke, paraded through the streets on the back of a pickup truck half naked as some kind of sick trophy, as Palestinians cheered, celebrated and spat on a corpse. But these scenes of joy and frivolity were also commonplace on the streets of major European cities. Hamas supporters in London revelling in the carnage. Same in Birmingham. Similar scenes in America turning violent. Migrants at a refugee camp in Greece, waiting to be dispersed throughout Europe, celebrating the horror. And they called you intolerant for not wanting these people anywhere near your neighbourhood. Suella Braverman was scolded for saying multiculturalism had failed. Now we have entire communities on the streets of Western capitals gloating over terrorist attacks. If nothing else extinguishes the deadly myth of diversity being our strength. Will this? Sure, but have you considered importing a vast number of immigrants to bolster the GDP so that whenever an ethnic blood feud erupts, it becomes a flashpoint in every major Western city? I'm in Warsaw, and for some reason they don't experience a rise in hate crimes or violence when terrorists attack innocent Israelis. Maybe diversity isn't a strength. What? I thought multiculturalism was about Turkish kebabs and chicken chow mein. You mean to tell me it's more than that? It's a grim reality that as a result of an ethnic blood feud 3,000 miles away, we're now going to have a series of terror attacks in the West, once again underscoring that the primary consequence of cultural enrichment is violence, hatred and bloodshed. We'll return after this. Cold turkey may be great on sandwiches, but there's a better way to break your bad habits. I'm not talking about some woo-woo hypnosis technique. I'm talking about something way more practical. I'm talking about our video sponsor, Fume. They look at the problem in a different way. Instead of methods that only temporarily limit the bad habit and don't work in the long term, why not just remove the bad from your habit? Fume turns it into a habit you're free to enjoy and makes replacing your bad habit easy peasy. Your Fume comes with an adjustable airflow dial and is designed with movable parts and magnets for fidgeting. Ooh, yeah, that fidget. Giving your fingers a lot to do, which is helpful for de-stressing and anxiety while breaking your bad habit. Instead of electronics and vapor, Fume uses flavoured air. Instead of using harmful chemicals, Fume uses all-natural, delicious flavours. Even more exciting is Fume's new flavoured cores. Orange vanilla. Sweet and citrusy with a touch of classic vanilla. Raspberry lemon. Full-bodied lemonade with a hint of berry. And last but not least, sparkling grapefruit. Fresh and cooling fruity grapefruit. It feels fresh, it tastes way more flavourful than you'd expect. Then there's also the satisfying feel of the thing. Fully weighted, perfectly balanced and really fun to fidget with. Stopping is something we all put off because it is hard. But switching to Fume is easy, enjoyable and even fun. Fume has served over 150,000 customers and has thousands of success stories, and there's no reason that can't be you. Join Fume in accelerating humanity's breakup from destructive habits by getting your hands on the Journey Pack today. Head to tryfume.com/PJW or scan the QR code and use code PJW to get 10% off your Journey Pack today. It's right down there in the description. That's tryfum.com and use code PJW to get an additional 10% off your order. Now back to the video. Almost as vulgar as the scenes we witnessed over the weekend was the barbaric rush to defend them by prominent voices on the far left, in the warped context that it was all part of some righteous liberating crusade. Listen to them very carefully and take them deadly seriously, because this is what they want to do to you and your family. Don't forget, they openly acknowledge and embrace the notion that mass migration to Western countries is a justified act of revenge against colonizers, and they view the mangled and desecrated bodies of innocent civilians as colonizers. When you watch those lurid video clips of terrorists gloating over dead corpses in the back of trucks, that level of debauched dehumanization is how they see your fate. Today should be a day of celebration for supporters of democracy and human rights worldwide. As Gazans break out of their open-air prison and Hamas fighters cross into their colonizers' territory. The struggle for freedom is rarely bloodless, and we shouldn't apologise for it. The struggle for freedom, democracy and human rights, machine gunning a music festival, ISIS Bataclan style, raping young women and piling up their dismembered remains. In the name of democracy. But did you think decolonisation meant vibes, papers, essays, losers? Left-wing student groups at British universities up and down the country, praising the killing of at least 600 innocents as a heroic fight by the martyrs against fascist and criminal settlers. Fascist and criminal settlers like Yoni Ash's 3- and 5-year-old girls. Like this kidnapped young boy. So I guess we've learned that everyone who uses the term decolonize is just advocating for mass murder and war crimes. And to be clear, none of this is a defense of the state of Israel, or a naive suggestion that any of the people running that country give a damn about the interests of anyone in the West, anyone but themselves. Recall that only last month, after migrants staged violent clashes, Israel announced it would deport all African migrants and build another giant border wall to keep millions more out of the country. A policy vehemently supported by Israeli interest groups like the ADL, while those same groups constantly lobby for white Western countries to be subsumed by migrants, demonising anyone who speaks out against it. But then on the flip side, Gaza must turn into a parking lot by tomorrow and all Arabs deported to Europe. Gee, thanks for that. They're indiscriminately levelling Gaza as we speak. Over 1,000 tons of bombs dropped on the area already. Every unspeakable horror that happened to innocent Israeli civilians is now happening to innocent Palestinian civilians. Reports of schools and mosques being targeted. Over 2 million Palestinians live in Gaza, already under the rule of a demented Hamas government. And the Israeli defense minister said today that as a form of collective punishment, they're all going to be treated like animals.
אנחנו מטילים מצור מוחלט על העיר עזה. אין חשמל, אין מזון, אין מים, אין דלק. הכל סגור. אנחנו נלחמים בחיות אדם.
The exact same way that Hamas terrorists who ambushed that music festival treated those innocent young people like hogs. Meanwhile, a whole host of conservative commentators who railed against America's involvement in funding the war in Ukraine are now suddenly all pro-war, with some openly demanding that the US support the genocide of Palestinians. Breitbart editor-at-large Joel Pollack demanding Gaza be wiped out. Dave Rubin demanding Gaza be bombed the fuck out of for however long it takes. And the US deep state has also seized upon the slaughter to grease the skids once again for more entrenched American involvement in the Middle East. Because it's worked out great so far, hasn't it? Dubious claims that Iran funded the Hamas attack, goading Hezbollah into entering the conflict as a justification to launch an attack on Iran. They're all carnal killers who won't stop at the spilling of any amount of blood to plunge the globe into another world war. There are no good actors on any side of this conflict. They're all malevolent bastards. And humanity really has hit rock bottom, hasn't it? When saying brutally slaughtering innocent civilians is evil, whoever does it becomes the rarest take in response to all this. Get early access to videos, exclusive live streams, and personally DM me. You've seen how much I get demonetized all the time. Well, this is how you support me. By subscribing at pauljosephwatson.locals.com. Please click the link in the description.